Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into 5 huge stories today. We're talking about everything from our cities getting dangerously hot to some invisible forces that are, well, really shaping our future. So let's get right to it. All right, here's what's on the docket. We'll be looking at why Asia's cities are becoming unlivable. Then a huge debate. Should India have one single law book for the whole country? We'll also cover India's big race for high-tech magnets, the push to protect both tigers and temples, and we'll wrap up with the really strange story of our disappearing mountains. Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty serious warning that's just come out from the United Nations. It's all about the future of life in our biggest cities, and frankly, it's alarming. You see, this new report asks a really startling question. A question that gets at a problem that's way bigger than just global warming, as we usually think of it. Get this, an extra 7 degrees Celsius. That's the kind of heat cities like Delhi, Dhaka, and Karachi could be facing. And let me be really clear here. That's on top of the global warming we're already struggling with. It's a double whammy. So you're probably asking, what on earth is causing this? Well, it's something called the urban heat island effect. Think about it. All that concrete and asphalt in our cities, it just soaks up the sun's heat all day and then radiates it back out. Add in all the waste heat from cars and AC units, and you've basically created a giant oven. And this chart, wow, it really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? The whole world is desperately trying to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees. That's that small bar on the left. But then look at the reality for people living in these megacities, that giant bar on the right. We're not talking 1.5 degrees. We're talking a potential 7-degree rise. It's a completely different ballgame and so much more dangerous. So where is this hitting hardest? The UN report points the finger directly at South Asia. It's like a perfect storm of problems. You've got intense humidity that makes it feel even hotter, super dense cities that trap all that heat, and millions of people working outdoors in fields and on construction sites with absolutely nowhere to escape. And look, this is so much more than just a few sweaty, uncomfortable summers. This is a massive threat to public health. We're talking about huge economic hits, nearly $500 billion a year, from people being unable to work. It really makes you ask a scary question. Will these cities even be livable for our kids? Okay, so from a crisis of heat in our environment, let's pivot to a different kind of crisis, one of complete overload within India's justice system. Just look at this number, 5.4 crore. That's 54 million pending court cases. It's an absolutely staggering figure. The backlog is so bad that it's triggering calls for some pretty radical reform, and it's being led from the very top by the Chief Justice. So here's the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got what's basically judicial chaos. There are 25 high courts, and they can all interpret the exact same law in 25 different ways. I mean, your fundamental rights could change just by crossing a state line. The proposed solution? A national judicial policy. The idea is to get all the courts, as the Chief Justice said, speaking in one rhythm. But it's never that simple, is it? The road from a great idea to making it actually happen is, well, it's full of potholes. You've got India's complicated federal structure to deal with, you have to make sure the judiciary stays independent, and all that is before you even get to the massive practical problems, like the fact that some courts have a 50% vacancy rate for judges. It's a huge mountain to climb. All right, next up, let's talk about a huge strategic shift happening in technology and, well, in economic independence. It all comes down to a simple question. What's the one thing that powers everything from an EV to a fighter jet? The answer? These things right here. Sintered rare earth permanent magnets, or REPMs for short. These are, hands down, the strongest magnets you can buy, and they're critical, absolutely essential for so many high-tech gadgets and machines. And here's the kicker. There's really no good substitute for them. And this chart? Well, this chart shows you exactly why this is such a big deal. Right now, India's high-tech ambitions are almost totally reliant on imports. And you can see who has all the power here. A single country controls nearly 90% of the world's supply. That's not just dependence, that's a huge strategic vulnerability. So what's the plan to fix this? The government has laid out a pretty clear 3-step strategy. First, you've got to build the capacity, the factories themselves. Second, you pump money into it to get companies on board. And the big goal, step 3, is to control the whole process, from digging the raw materials out of the ground to producing that final super powerful magnet. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Now we're going to look at two fascinating stories that really connect India's deep past with its future. We're talking about protecting some of its most precious treasures, both natural and man-made. So you've got these two incredible heritage initiatives moving forward at the same time. On one hand, in Goa, the Supreme Court is pushing for a brand new tiger reserve. This is all about protecting a really critical pathway that tigers use to move around. Then, over in Chhattisgarh, you have the ancient city of Sirpur, this amazing place where different religions coexisted, and it's now being prepped for a big UNESCO World Heritage nomination. And Sirpur, it's just so special. It's home to these architectural wonders, like the Lakshmana Temple. I mean, just look at it. This is one of the finest brick temples in all of India, and it's still standing from the 7th century. It's just an incredible testament to the skill and artistry of that time. And for our final story today, this one is a real eye-opener. It shows how changing just a few words on a piece of paper, a simple redefinition, can have massive, and I mean massive, consequences for one of the planet's most ancient landscapes. What we're talking about here are the Aravalli Hills. And this isn't just any old mountain range. This is one of the oldest on Earth. And it does a critically important job. It acts like a giant green wall, literally stopping the Thar Desert from expanding into northern India. Which leads to a question that sounds almost silly, right? But the answer has just been changed by the government. And the results? Well, they're nothing short of dramatic. So here's the change, side by side. The old way of doing things, the scientific criteria, was pretty broad. If a landform was 30 meters high with a certain slope, it got protection. But now, look at the new definition. To officially be considered part of the Aravallis, a hill has to be at least 100 meters high. The goalposts have been moved big time. And the result of that one little change? Well, the Forest Survey of India did the math, and because of that new 100-meter rule, a whopping 90% of the Aravalli landscape no longer qualifies for protection. Just like that, it's vulnerable. One tiny change to a definition and the consequence is absolutely monumental.